and I will always be transgender. If you're trans, you're trans. Surgery is not gonna change that. I don't view how I see myself as the body that I was born in. I don't think that you need to have surgery in order to be transgender. I think it varies between individuals. Some trans people may feel the real urgency in having surgery, and others might not even really want it. They might not think about it that much. And then there are other transgender people who, you know, they want to have surgery, but it's just not possible.
It's not necessary to have surgery or to seek surgery to be trans. There are multiple kinds of dysphoria. You can have physical dysphoria, where there is a mismatch between your body and the body that you aspire to, and it's causing you depression, it's causing you mental illness problems. And then there's also social dysphoria, which is the same, but rather it's about how you're perceived in society. It's way simpler to think of something as like, oh, it's a medical condition, and I can treat it like a medical condition, and I can have it treated via surgery. Like, that's so much easier for cis people to digest than actually having to think about what gender is and why gender is like a flawed system.
If you just see someone walking down the street and you think they happen to be transgender, whether they are or not doesn't really matter. But your viewpoint of them will be from an outsider's perspective.
It's not really a case of being read as male or read as a woman. Like, in a lot of cases when I'm not gendered correctly, it's not that they read me as male, it's that they read me as something sick and other. Like, people have yelled at me from across the street, some people have yelled at me for wearing skirts or tights, or people have occasionally like burst into laughter when they pass me very deliberately. Some people will make gross comments.
I think the media's portrayal of transgender people, they should stop essentially over sensationalizing it, and they should come from a true place, and just give normal stories on transgender people.
Even the positive representation that exists in media is focused entirely around the idea of the individual being transgender. It is much safer and healthier for a child to see an aspirational figure in a television show who is like, I don't know, a space adventure or whatever, who is also trans, or like a character in a fantasy novel who is also trans. Like, characters who are aspirational and cool, who are trans, and that doesn't necessarily define everything about them. Like, well, we'll accept you, but it will always be about you being trans. That is the most interesting and total thing about you. And for a lot of people, they feel almost like being transgender means they can't be anything else.
In my day-to-day life, I'm very thankful that I don't suffer any issues. I go to university, I date quite a lot, I do everything that a normal girl would. I think to some people that may be a shock that trans people are normal, but it's like, well, what did you expect? Do you know what I mean?
I've had some guys like catcall me, and I've had like street harassment. I've had like people creep up behind me and go, "Oh, you're so pretty," and stuff like that. Like, it's really awful. But it's not half as bad as it is for a lot of other people out there.
I don't have any issues here. I've not even heard a comment about me, and that wasn't like that in Nottingham. I was facing a lot of issues, and yeah, I just needed a break, to be honest. Because everyone's generally really nice. Or if not really nice, they're just like generally really rude. Like, they're too busy to actually take notice of anything around them because they're so busy. Now, whether that's because I'm passable and I have issues with that word, is probably a big factor. Okay, so I have a few issues with the word passable. My main issue is the fact that it indicates that I'm passing as a woman and not am a woman. It's like, also, when you're passable, it's kind of like a checklist of how you look, how you act, how you talk, how you walk. And if you tick them boxes, you're passable, and if you don't, then you're not passable. And that's not what being transgender is about.
Dealing with it on an individual level works for like making yourself safe in a space. Like, if you personally can persuade the people around you to stop being transphobic overtly towards you, then that's good, and that, like, we should definitely encourage, like, people should be held accountable for their individual actions, but at the same time we shouldn't consider that the ultimate solution. We need a widespread structural change. We need to alter the way that our society looks at these things.
I think in order to combat transphobia, it needs to start at essentially ground level. Education is really important. I think the more educated you are, the more knowledgeable you are about certain issues, and it generally means you're not as narrow-minded. You know, things take time, I guess. Social change, do you know what I mean? You can't expect something to happen overnight. Everyone isn't exactly the same, I think, which is a good thing, because we're all individuals.